You may have noticed that some people who are usually very loud in defending the UDA government, very arrogant many of the times, have recently been very quiet. Now, in case you're not aware, this is a telltale sign that there's something wrong. But what could be wrong? Okay, according to my latest information, the Albert Ojwang murder has triggered the biggest crisis ever the UDA government has had since it came into power in 2022. This crisis is so serious, so major, that it could signal the end of the Ruto regime. However, in my opinion, it doesn't matter which way this goes. This is definitely the beginning of the end of the UDA Kenya Kwanza government. And I'm going to give you details so that you're convinced. I'm going to tell you exactly what is happening behind the scenes. And that is why the usual suspects are very quiet. They are not talking. Wanakaa kama kuku imenyeshewa. I am going to give you all that. And you are going to be more than shocked. And as if this is not enough for this government, there is a new development that just makes things worse. The father of the late Albert Ojwang, Bwana Meshack Ojwang, has now come out, still grieving, still very angry, wouldn't you? Yeah, because a father is never supposed to bury a son. Never ever. Let alone burying your only son. Now what Meshack Ojwang is saying is that he has seen junior officers being arraigned. Even the OCS of Central Police Station being arrested. However, he is not convinced that his son is getting justice. Why? Because the main man, the man at the center of all this, the man who needs to be arrested, according to Bwana Ojwang, is Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG, Eliud Lagat. That is what the father of the slain, Albert Ojwang, is saying in very clear language. He has even called this whole exercise that is ongoing, allegedly to find the killers of Albert Ojwang. He has called it, in Kiswahili, sarkasi, a circus, which is the opinion of a vast majority of Kenyans. And what the grieving father wants is nothing less than the arrest of Eliud Lagat, the DIG. And with good reason. Who sent for Albert Ojwang to be arrested? Those officers were obeying orders from who? And is it possible that in the middle of all this, they stopped obeying orders from the person who sent them to pick up Albert Ojwang and shifted and started doing their own things or following orders from somebody else? Of course not. And as we said in an earlier video, this is an open and shut case. It is only that currently we're going through a circus. And the father of the slain Ojwang is saying, no! Stop the circus! Please, let's get serious about getting to the bottom of this and getting justice for my only son. Because after the late Albert, there are no older sisters or brothers. There are no younger sisters or brothers. This was my only child. And the people who did this finished me. That is what the old man is saying. Meanwhile, the United States, the United Kingdom governments have come out with very strongly worded statements urging the Kenyan government to fully back a very free, fair and transparent way to get to the bottom of this and to find the real killers of Albert Ojwang. So that one, for those who are doubting, is clear evidence of powerful foreign pressure to get to the bottom of this. So now that we have that information, you will better understand how serious the crisis is that the UDA, Kenya Kwanza, Ruto regime is facing. Indeed, I dare add, this is a crisis that no other government in the history of our country has faced. The Kenyan government over the years has faced very many serious crises, but none of them have faced a crisis as serious as this one. Please, let us understand that one. And let me reveal the details of this crisis and why it is a crisis. But before I do that, I have some great news. Our very big fans, Lemify, are back. Now, many people who are regulars on this channel are in the diaspora. And regularly, they need to send money back home, especially now, when things are so difficult. And many of them are very much aware of the fact that when they use Lemify, they are also supporting this channel. Okay? And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them very much. Okay? Now you can see details on your screens. On the very latest cashbacks, when you send money, you can see details of that on your screens right now. And please remember to use the code word Kumekucha. It is in front of your screens. And that way, our partners will know where you came from. And that is right here on this channel. Okay? Let's continue. The crisis that Ruto is facing, in one brief sentence, is that there is a very huge danger of the broad-based government collapsing. In other words, the danger is ODM, the party, could leave this arrangement abruptly. Now, let us start by understanding one very obvious fact. If ODM exits the broad-based government today, the chances of the Ruto regime surviving are very close to nil. Please, let us agree on that fact, because it is a fact, whether we like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not, it is a fact. And if you don't believe it, please consider the following. The effort, the determination that Ruto took to get ODM on board. You know, this broad-based government did not come about easily. Initially, things were so difficult that it started chini ya maji. Raila gave us stories. Oh, I'm lending some experts to assist the government. We don't have any agreement. We don't have any partnership. Blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. Remember Raila giving us those stories? Bottom line, this was a very reluctant bride coming to a marriage. This bride did not want this marriage, the bride being ODM. They had to be pembelezwed. Many, many gifts sent to the prospective in-laws. Flowers had to be scattered on the floor wherever this bride stepped. She had to be pampered. She had to be sent gifts every day. So many things were done to finally bring this bride called ODM to the altar. And when this bride arrived, people in Kenya, Kenyans, were very angry. But still, the marriage happened. And Kenyans remained with their sira. But the marriage happened. Mtadu, I know that many of us are not aware that there was enormous input into this marriage from foreign shores. I'm sure you understand. I don't need to elaborate on that one. Powerful Western powers were behind this broad-based government. And I'm sure they threatened, they persuaded, they did everything in their power to make this marriage happen, because they believed, they were sure, that once this marriage happens, peace will return to the nation called Kenya. They were very sure that once this broad-based marriage happened, a repeat of what happened in 2018 would unfold in Kenya, and therefore Kenyans would move on, the economy would move on, things would happen, the interest would be protected in the country called Kenya, everything would be okay. Now, of course, we know it did not turn out exactly like that. However, what is the alternative? There is none. And so, they continued supporting the broad-based government. But you will remember, even before the murder of Albert Ojwang, things had started going terribly wrong. Okay? And you could see clearly that the international community, the powerful Western nations, were not happy with the Ruto regime. You could see that clearly. And there was a problem, definitely. Very big problem. And then, bang! The Albert Ojwang manenos. They would not have come at a worse time. They wouldn't. You know, it is super fascinating that at the beginning of this crisis, when the government released its first statement, they claimed that Albert Ojwang was picked up in Migori. Now, there was a very good reason for that, because there were some things going on in a man called James Orengo alikuwa anaingia box ya Ruto. You remember that? There was a big meeting at State House, there was a high-powered delegation, and therefore, those in government handling the damage control of the Albert Ojwang manenos, they knew very well that we cannot touch Homa Bay. Homa Bay cannot appear in the news concerning something like this Albert Ojwang manenos. And therefore they told us, and they announced to everybody, Migori. Now, as a trained journalist, you go with the official version of a story until proved otherwise. And I want to apologize today for sticking too long to that government propaganda of Migori. It was not Migori. Migori was nowhere in this story. These things were happening in Homa Bay. As James Orengo alikuwa anaingia box, these people were doing something in Homa Bay, something very bad against the very community that James Orengo hails from. Talk about a PR disaster. Once again, my sincere apologies for sticking too long to Migori. Okay, when it was not Migori, it was Homa Bay. I know you people trust me a lot, and I broke your trust in that instance. I made a mistake. I stuck too long. My sincere apologies. Anyway, now there is a big problem, because ODM and Raila Odinga have already been under considerable pressure to leave the broad-based government. Indeed, there are those insiders who have been saying they're just waiting for an excuse. Well, here's the perfect excuse. However, it is not as easy as that. Why? Because of the involvement of foreign powers in this arrangement. And so the current position is that the Ruto regime is not prepared to sacrifice Bwana Lagat. Okay? However, ODM cannot survive politically by remaining in the broad-based government when there is no change in the position of the DIG, when Bwana Lagat is still in office. Indeed, I also believe it is not possible for ODM to remain in this arrangement without action being taken against the man who sent for Albert Ojwang. That is the position. Now, on the other hand, Ruto's regime cannot afford to lose the broad-based government. Because when they lose the broad-based government, when they lose ODM, it'll be all over. It'll be kwisha maneno. That is clear. And so, what is happening now in the backrooms of politics is very serious negotiations. That is what is going on. But clearly, even as that happens, you can see there's already a deadlock in these negotiations. Because ODM cannot survive without Lagat gone and action taken against him. And Ruto, apparently, cannot survive without Lagat remaining in his position. And super fascinating, the powerful foreign nations are with ODM. Okay? They are supporting justice for Albert Ojwang. Because if you step back and look at this whole situation, there is no other way out of it. It's just common sense, logic. Okay? And therefore they are supporting common sense, the logical thing to do. The only thing to do to save this situation. However, Ruto and company are resisting with everything they have. And so that is the current situation. Now it is not very difficult to predict which side will win. However, one thing I cannot predict is at what cost. At what cost? Let me explain. In my opinion, I do not think even taking action against Lagat will cool down the temperatures in Kenya. I don't think so. The only thing that can cool down the temperatures, let me quote Secretary General of ODM Party, the only thing which can cool down tempers, return things to some semblance of what they were before, is for Albert Ojwang to be returned back to life, to be alive again and well, and having lunch with his dad and everything okay. That is the only thing which can return things to normal. And because we know that that is impossible, I believe you will now understand why I said this is the biggest crisis ever for a government in Kenya to face. And I'm certain, very sure, hii maneno haitaisha vizuri. That one I'm sure. And I'm sure most of you other close observers will agree with me 100%. Now, let's face another controversial question. Where is Eliud Lagat right now? Because he has vanished from the public eye. Is he still in the country? Bado yuko Kenya? Kweli? Now very quickly before I answer that question, please allow me a very brief message that I'm certain will be of great interest to some of us. Take a look. Did you know that your dream by the sea can actually start today? Especially because everybody knows the best time to invest is when times are hard. You really need to take a look at this beachside property at the Malaika Beach area in Malindi, which is going for a considerable discount. Only 25 million an acre, when an acre in this area goes for 30 million plus. You can see how beautiful it is. And it's close to renowned beach hotels. Walking distance in the neighborhood. If you're interested, use the telephone number you see on your screens right now, or 10210-6218. Let your dream by the sea start now. If you are Bwana Eliud Lagat, I'm asking you, if you are Bwana Eliud Lagat, what would you do? I've explained the circumstances. I've explained in detail the considerable pressure, bang in the middle of government, all that information you have. So I ask again, if you're Eliud Lagat, what would you do? Well, if I was the man, I would not be within the borders of the country. Pure and simple. But now there is another problem. Because of the high-profile nature of this case, it may be difficult for many of the usual Western countries where people go to accept this man. Because there would be political consequences for those leaders. Because the voters there would ask, Allah, there is this case in Kenya. This man has been mentioned. What is he doing in our country? Etc. etc. Hey, kimeumana kuumana. There is no other way I can put it. Now, very quickly before I go, I have this most sensitive special report I've ever produced, and that is no exaggeration, as those who have already taken it in will testify. And I have received a push to extend this offer a little longer. And therefore I urge you to grab this opportunity and act immediately. And not only get this highly sensitive special report that will blow your mind away, but then you'll also be able to get all the other previous special reports that I have produced. Now you can see details on your screens right now. Pony Kenya shillings 2,999. M-Pesa to that number you see on your screens right now. And please make sure you remember to text me your email address immediately after. You can also send me an email to that same email address for PayPal, telling me that you have made payment and therefore, Chris, fanya mambo. And I will act immediately. The clock is ticking, so please act fast. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.